From business perspective, I don't need to know every line of code, but I need to know this. When journal entries delay, decisions delay. In a fast-paced enterprise, manual uploads and broken integrations cost time, accuracy, and control. That's why automating GL journal imports using Oracle Integration Cloud isn't just an IT upgrade, but a business imperative. This session helps you to streamline financial data flow across systems, reducing manual touch points and ensuring journal entries are right where it should be, on time and in the books. Before we dive in, I encourage you to follow this sequence of previous videos, each one building the foundation for what we will learn today. And don't forget to keep this OIC architecture diagram handy. It helps to visualize how the components work together, making the flow much easier to understand. Hello and welcome to this session. Today we will walk through the complete process of building an Oracle Integration Cloud OIC Integration to call the GL Journal Imports web service in Oracle Fusion. We will explore a structured workflow that begins with reading journal data from CSV files, continues through transforming, validating that data, and ends with importing it into the GL module. Along the way, we will incorporate conditional logic, error handling, and best practices like using lookups for configurable values and custom JavaScript functions for formatting. Let's get started with the initial setup and prerequisites. First, the system will list all the available files in the FTP server. Since we have multiple CSVs, we will use a data consumption loop. Next, we download the files from the FTP into the OIC stage area, a temporary buffer where data processing occurs. We then read the staged file using the read file activity. This is backed by a schema file defining the column structure. Reading happens in two ways. One is entire file. This is used for files which are lesser than 10 MB in file size. Next is in chunks, that is for larger files. For multiple files, always prefer the stage file activity over the FTP adapter. FTP adapter supports only single file read operations. Even if we currently process just one file, structuring your integration this way ensures future readiness. There will be no requirement to redesign when your volume increases. Now let's configure the ERP Cloud adapter to call the GL web service. We first define a SOAP web service connection by entering the Fusion credentials. From a functional discussion, we will identify the mandatory journal fields such as source, category, currency, ledger name, status, group ID, and period name. To make this integration configurable, we use lookup tables for values such as source, category, currency, and ledger name. This means future changes only require lookup values update, not the integration edits. In order to connect the OIC to Oracle ERP Cloud application, we use ERP Cloud adapter. Once you open the connection, you can see that there are multiple features in the Invoke section. This includes one query, create and update. These are for standard web services and REST APIs. 2. It's for import bulk data using FVDI process. 3. Send the files to the UCM server. Moving to the mapping and integration logic, we invoke the import journals operation and map the CSV data to this operation in a structured manner. This ensures that the data is populated into the interface table. A request mapper for import journals needs to be configured here. The data from the read file operation will be mapped into the import journals GL web service. When configuring the request mapper, ensure that you are sequentially doing it. First, map the journal attributes like date, description, segments, debit and credit. Then link the lookup values. Finally, assign the hard-coded values, example status as N or balance type as actual. We will talk about the mapping concepts. Here we have both node-to-node mapping and element-to-element mapping. When dealing with the repeating structures like debit or credit entries, use node-to-node mapping. This will trigger the XSLT for each loops. XSLT is Extensible Style Sheet Language Transformation. It is crucial to enable this in the mapper to see and manage complex transformations like for each loops or conditional logic. For example, a conditional data transformation is required if my debit value is $40 and I want to print the value as 400. If the condition is other than 40, then provide the other condition. Another example of conditional data transformation is if condition. This is to prevent the null attributes from being populated in the target system. It is particularly useful when interacting with REST APIs or web services that do not accept null values for certain attributes. Example, if the accounting date is null, then I want to default the system date. You can also upload .js files and reference a JavaScript function for name formatting. Example, transforming accounting date into mon-yy date format. Use the getFlowID inbuilt OIC function to auto-generate the group ID at runtime. We will add a data switch nothing but an if-else condition to check the response is not null, and if it is not null, we will proceed to the next step. Now the data is imported into the interface file. After the successful import, the submit ESS job request operation is invoked. The ERP cloud adapter is used to invoke this operation, and there are 7 parameters that needs to be mapped. Job package definition name, source, this is from the lookup, group ID, we get it from the getFlowID, data access ID and ledger ID, this is derived from the BIP report integration. Before submitting the journal import, a pre-existing BIP report integration needs to be designed, and this has to be called to retrieve the data set access ID and ledger ID. When we call the BIP report integration, we need to give the input as ledger name, and this integration must complete within 4 minutes in a synchronous fashion. Otherwise, it will go into timeout. Again, a data switch is added. This checks if the response is valid before continuing. Now let's monitor the ESS job status. We use another ERP cloud adapter with a while loop that is continuously checking the job status until it hits a terminal state, success, error or warning. Update a variable with each response, and once successful, we send the success email notification to the stakeholders. Now we will explore the error scenario. The error scenario is handled using download export output operation within an ERP cloud adapter. This is used to download the ESS job log using export output operation. We then decode the base64 log content using opaque.xsd, write the decoded file to the stage area, and attach the file to an email notification. We can have dynamic information such as file name, request ID, instance name for context in the email subject and email body. The body is utilizing an HTML coding, and since it's a plain text box without the access for expression builder, notification parameters are used to inject dynamic integration flow variables into the email body. Now let's discuss the best practices for debugging. It is always recommended to do the OIC integration development incrementally, step by step, adding one step at a time, and use the activity stream to monitor the request and the response payload at every stage. Understand what data each step generates before chaining the actions. Use SOAP UI or Postman for standalone API testing before embedding them in the flow. And that wraps up our section. Until next time, happy integrating.